What's up, y'all? It's Christine Pelaez, ADHD, bipolar type 1 nurse, and your host of Soul Centered, a mental health podcast about all things taboo, vulnerable, and soul searching. I talk mental health to free us all from capitalism. On today's episode, I want to talk about many things. First of all, updates about my mental health and my journey and how I feel like I have lessened, I have lost my creativity, and that's causing me a lot of shame. Um, but before we begin, I would like to talk about this overcoat. I think it's meant to be like a, a top, but I'm using it as a cardigan. So I thrifted this, maybe Goodwill or something. I like to thrift because that is more sustainable than buying new clothes, especially fast fashion. Fast fashion is like, H&M, Forever 21. Shein is like ultra fast fashion. That is incredibly unequitable. And yeah, you've heard of uh, sweatshops. Yeah, that's like the worst kind. It's like this new category all on its own. So anyway, I try not to buy. I try to buy vintage or used, right, secondhand. But what's really cool about this is okay. The style of it reminds me of, I don't know what they're called. It reminds me of more of like Chinese type fashion, but actually it's made in the Philippines. I'm Filipino American, and it's made in the Philippines, which gives me pride. And because it's so cool, look at the embroidery. It's very, very detailed. And it reminds me of a traditional Filipino barong, which is, I believe, made out of banana leaves, I think made out of banana leaves, and it's like traditional wear. Yeah. And it's usually just like beige in color. But anyway, I thought that's really cool. And this is kind of a new angle of my place. There's my cat sleeping. Um, Sorry, my bed's not made. I didn't quite make it because my cat was sleeping. That's Pluto. But here you haven't seen this angle of my studio. So this box, or that's like my plant box or plant cabinet, I guess. Yeah, so in there are a lot of they're kind of more rare plants, but the reason why they're in there is to increase humidity, right? So humidity is just like moisture in the air, but these are more tropical plants, and so they do well in humid environments. And so I have a lot of what's called alocasia and anthuriums in there. Yeah, that was like my pride and joy. It was so funny when I was, so IKEA cabinets are like a thing for, I used to be like obsessed with plants during the pandemic. I was one of those, plant moms, had like 100 plants. A lot of them were small, but yeah, because 100 plants, could you believe that? That's crazy. I mean, I have like 50 plants still. It's kind of a lot, and a lot of them are hung. And then the other day, we had to like take things down because they were installing like a new fire alarm here, and I had this one pothos that I had to take down from the wall, and it's like so long. Anyway, uh, yeah. So that's my thing. Oh, and up there, the face of what seems to be, a femme face, right? I made that. Making rugs is called tufting, Tufting. My sister and I, we did a tufting workshop in San Jose, and oh my God, it took like 6 hours. I was so hangry. I was so hangry at the end. Like, what the fuck? I was like, what? This should you I don't know if you know about, like paint night where they have like you could drink alcohol and you paint. I was like, man, should have been like that too. Anyway, so that is what I'm going to introduce you to. Let's talk about. So, I was kind of actually nervous going into this podcast because it'd been almost 2 whole weeks, uh, or actually, yeah, 2 weeks since I done my last podcast because I was away celebrating my sister before she and I both started working. So that's another thing. I'm about to start working again after 6 fucking months of no work. Yeah. So working again. I am a little bit nervous, of course, because I haven't been working, but I know that this will be good for me. I feel like I feel like not having purpose, and in DBT, they say that you need to have a sense of mastery in order to feel fulfilled. Fulfilled, I don't know, something like that. And so I do feel fulfilled at work. My current job is an infusion center nurse. So think about when patients get cancer, but they're not sick and they're well enough that they can just go in, get their infusion, and then go home afterwards, versus like being admitted to the hospital. So yeah, I work in that, and it is not as the environment is not as toxic. It can be quite toxic when it's like so busy, especially when we close. Like like see, I'm like ew, I'm like disgusted. So sometimes um like you have to do the closing shift and we close at 9 p.m. and there isn't like a provider there, or there isn't enough staff there, and when things go wrong you like don't have enough help. And so yeah, it's toxic. It gets toxic in that it's fucking annoying and stressful. Yeah, definitely. And that it reminds me of inpatient vibes, because inpatient vibes is just all bad. Inpatient meaning inside the hospital. Yeah. So on a good day, the flow is okay, it's manageable, and I get to really shine with my patients. And that's what gives me fulfillment. I and like and you get so used to the actual work of it. And if the workflow is manageable, then that's a good thing, right? You're not stressed out. Yeah, and so that's why it becomes the dream of every inpatient nurse to do an outpatient job, because it's supposed to be slower, not as toxic. Yeah, so I'm about to start work, and then my psychiatrist wrote that one of my restrictions going back to work is that I ease into it, right? So I don't get overwhelmed and then fucking end up back in the hospital. So I will be starting off at 2. So full time for me is 4 10s. So that's 40 hours a week. So I will be starting at half time for 3 weeks. And then I will move to 3 days a week for 3 weeks, and then full time. So that's easing me into starting back to go to work. Um, yeah. So of course, I mean, the thing is, when one of the main things that and I read it to you, right? I read you chapter 1 of my memoir. What put me over the edge was that code, right? Was that code, and I was probably manic at that time. But when I think about going to work at my original, ugh, unit, like that one is known to be like the most busy of all of them. And it's just like I have this kind of disgust, because it's like, oh God. And then we also have to take care of patients that are on trials, and they are more likely to react. And that totally fucks you up, especially if you have another patient, right? It's like you have to tend to your patient who's reacting, but you have another patient, of course. And so anyway, yeah, we'll see how I do. We'll see how I do, because I am protected, because management won't protect you, right? Don't give a fuck about you. Let's be real. Management doesn't give a fuck about you. You're just a number, right? You're just a number. They are the middleman between between you and higher ups who are pressuring them to produce some shit. So yeah, can you tell I'm so jaded? And yeah, because this is real life, and like who gives a fuck about us? And this is why I am anti-capitalism, right? This is why I'm like we talk about our mental health because if we, I mean, theoretically, if we all talk about our mental health, if we all stand up and not take the abuse, then they can't do this to us anymore, you know? So that's why. And that's why I say I talk mental health to free us all from capitalism. Because maybe if I talk about it, then it will inspire you to talk about your mental health and not just take the bullshit anymore. Yeah. So I dream about leaving. I dream about leaving, but then these are the golden handcuffs that we have. Especially, I'm a nurse in California. Nowhere else do I make this money. Can I make this money? And now I have a certain lifestyle because of the money that I make. So, golden handcuff for sure. So, yeah, that's that. Um, Blessing and a curse, right? So, going back to work, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. The first week, I thank goodness, because I will be at another location, doing the same job, doing the same job. I will be at another location, and I have to orient for the first 3 days, three shifts, because it's a different location. And I am so thankful. I'm like, thank God. They're not just going to throw me in because I know how to do the job, right? And I almost thought that I wouldn't get orientation, but I guess they care a little bit. Or they're necessitating that. That's like a rule. Anyway, so that's that. Uh, yeah, nerves. I think nerves is normal, but I'm grateful to start work back again because it's nice for it felt like a limited amount of time or a short amount of time to be off of work because you fucking hate work. Who the fuck wants to work, right? Unless you love your job, then you're lucky as fuck. You love your job? Wow. Who the fuck are you? You're so lucky. Oh my gosh. And then I think there's a difference between like you love your job, like you like what you do. Like I like what I do. I like helping patients. I like building rapport, building a relationship with my patients. I'm really good at that. I'm really, really good at that. And so it's like a mutual it's like a mutual thing. Um but like the bureaucracy, the bullshit of having to do too much, being stretched too thin, that is what you don't like about your job, right? Um, and I was just thinking right now, like a lot of times the bullshit is like figuring it out. Like you're the one to figure it out. I'm sure every fucking job is like that, right? It's like something goes wrong and you're the one to figure it out. You're like, as if I don't have enough to do. What's up with that? Ugh. Ugh. Dude, being a nurse, inpatient, you're the plumber, you're the hostess, you're fucking the waitress, you're like everything. Computer tech, IT, like, oh my God. Ugh. Inpatient's the worst. Hug your nurse. If you have a nurse that works inside a hospital, hug your nurse. Their job sucks. Um, yeah. So, yeah, going back to work. Okay. Let's talk now. Oh, diagnosis. Okay. So I claim ADHD, right? Because like when I do the questionnaires, it's like I claim it's like so, so obvious, right? And I lean more towards maybe not as much distractibility. Like I'm not severe in that, but I am more hyper, like high energy, not hella anymore, but yeah, I am more high energy on the spectrum of things. And then I feel really angry that my dad, you know what? Because maybe you saw this episode, maybe you didn't, but the way that it's done with LifeStance, and I don't know if it's done everywhere else, I guess probably not, but LifeStance is my mental health provider. I kind of wish, oh, well, I'm not going to tell you my provider, but, or my healthcare. Anyway, so the way that they do it is you fill out a whole bunch of questionnaires. There's an interview with the patient, me, and then also they want to interview a person who was an adult when you were a child. And I picked my dad. And so my dad, English is his second language. I didn't think it would be that much of a barrier until we did the interview with him. See, I'm mad. Like until we did the interview with him, I feel like he is the barrier to me getting my ADHD diagnosis because he didn't understand the questions. And so I, I'm not sure what my point is. I think I'm just sharing with you what my experience was. So that sucks. But my psych NP, she was like, we're not discounting your ADHD diagnosis yet. You definitely fall within or like more so on the hyperactivity range. And so yeah, but you know what though? Distractibility, like I was with my sister yesterday and she would tell me direction and I would totally just like forget it. Like she'd be like, okay, we're turning here now. And she's like, we're turning. I was like, oh shit. Okay, let's turn. And then it happened again. And it's actually really embarrassing. It's like, am I this bad? I can't be this bad without her, right? Because I survived. But then, there are times where like I'm listening to like Google Maps and Google Maps will tell me to turn. And I'm like, oh shit, it's right now. Like, fuck. So yeah, I guess I do be distracted. And my sister was like, I think you're just in your own world, which is, yeah. So anyway, I'm going to tell that to my psych NP. Um, yeah, but here's the thing. The way that they treat ADHD is with stimulants, and stimulants can induce mania. And I started a bipolar group recently. It's an educational group, but it was really cool. I missed this last week because I was away. But I learned the biggest thing that I learned is that mania can cause depression. Because remember, bipolar is, yeah. So I also learned that bipolar type 1 can be high mania and then times of low depression, okay? Whereas bipolar type 2 can be hypomania, like not big mania. It can be, or it has periods of hypomania and then depression. And so I learned again that mania can cause depression, and that sucks. And we all know that I had this mixed episode kind of recently when I was away and I didn't bring my meds, and so I didn't sleep, and I had a bout of mania mixed in with depression and became suicidal during this depressive episode. So it was really bad. Ugh. And so after that incident, I increased my Latuda, which is supposed to help with the depression part of my bipolar. And then I started getting not this is not chronological. I started noticing that I was getting anxious, right? And like I said before, I believe that I had anxiety before. And when I was diagnosed with depression when I was in grad school, I could have easily also been diagnosed with, or instead of diagnosed as having anxiety. Because we all know that those are different sides of the same coin. They totally go together. Anxiety. So anxiety creeped up again, and then so bad that I was almost having like panic attacks, and that was scary. And then what's scary about that, especially for me, is that like I would have anxiety attacks, and then I would be fearful of just living because I was worried that an anxiety attack would happen. And so they always tell you like know your triggers. So I was like, okay, what are my triggers? And I've learned that, see, okay, I'm not sure if I talked about this yet, but my sister and I talked about this. Like sometimes getting bored, and I think this is an ADHD thing actually. Like being bored can trigger restlessness, and restlessness can look like anxiety. So I think the thing here is like, see, and I'm like, wait, does the boredom cause my anxiety? No, because wait, see, it gets confusing. It feels like there's like a difference, you know, like a hairline difference. Um, but yeah, restlessness. Okay, so I went on this trip with my sister. We went to Hawaii, went to Oahu, and I was anxious, of course. I was anxious about it. I was anxious about the airplane ride because it was like 5 hours, and I was like, oh my god, what if I have an anxiety attack? Oh god. And so I was like, I brought my AirPods, you know, I brought things to do. I was like, Nicole, I need one of your coloring books. I brought my crayons. And yeah, and then so when we went at to the waiting area, to the gate, like I was like, oh my god, there's so many people here. I started getting anxious. And then my sister was talking to me. I was like, I'm getting anxious. And so she's like, okay, put your AirPods in. So um, I started listening to Trevor Noah. I have such a crush on Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah is incredible. I started listening again because I'd listened to it. His it's a memoir. It's a memoir and a love note to his mom. Born a Crime. I highly recommend it. Reading it or listening to it because he narrates it, so it's good. So I was listening to it, and then it subsided. So sometimes, like, and I learned that panic attacks are is just overstimulation, right? And you need to like get away from the situation. So me getting away was listening to Trevor Noah and then calming down. So that's good. Good for me knowing, right? Like what my trigger is. That's a trigger, and not all the time, but sometimes, right? But it's like knowing your triggers. It's like also you have to be aware of your body and what's going on. Also, another time during the trip, I was really tired. It was nighttime, and my sister was still packing, and I was like, and I felt a little bit of like pressure to stay awake with her, but I told her I was like, I'm getting really tired. She's like, yeah, okay, go to sleep, right? And then I took my trazodone, which helps me sleep. It totally helps me sleep. 50 milligrams of trazodone. Highly recommended if you have trouble sleeping. Yeah, it sucks. It's a medication, but hey, we're all addicted to fucking medications to live, to survive this capitalistic world that's like go, 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 stretch you too thin. Anyway, so um, yeah, I need my trazodone to sleep. So that helped me. I was like, I was tired. And then I started feeling anxious. And then I was like, I gotta sleep. And so listening to my body again. Um, yeah. And I think one worry that I have is that I might, okay, here. Okay, let's practice, okay? Taking a deep breath is always good. So at work, if I start feeling overstimulated, if I start feeling anxious, I will take a deep breath. I will ground myself in the present moment by wiggling my toes or wiggling my feet, but also I will honor my body and get away from the situation. You know, I will, nurses are busy, you know, there's always something, and I might be, hopefully, okay, it's okay. I might be in the middle of something, but instead of having a full on fucking panic attack, I will be like, wait 1 second, I will be right back. And then give myself a moment. I can do that for myself. I will do that for myself. I am protected. Bipolar, and I think anxiety and depression are protected under Disability Act, FYI. Don't quote me on the anxiety and depression, but bipolar is. This is why I am protected. When we have talks about me going back to work, the disability management services department is in the talks too because they are protecting me, period. So there's that. I am protected to take care of myself. Yeah, good, good. That makes me feel good because nurses, everybody, we're all what? like so used to not listening to our bodies when it needs something, right? Nurses don't pee. They don't fucking pee because they're so busy. Bullshit. So anyway, um, ugh, disgust, disgust. So I will listen to my body and take care of my body. Yeah, I will do that. I, if it wasn't for my pension that I need another year to vest in, I probably would have already quit. But I just need one more year. I can do this for 1 year and then I can figure out what to do. Okay. Um, Diagnosis, my creativity. So, what was one plus about being manic was I had this energy and I had this confidence. I had this energy and I had this confidence, and I was, oh my gosh, I was creating so it was nonstop. The art was nonstop. Oh my gosh, I felt so creative. And I don't know if I told you this already, but I was so confident, and I had just read or listened to Rest is Resistance by Trisha Hersey, highly recommended for your liberation, for our path to liberation, rest. I had just listened to it and I was so inspired that, like, yes, I am divine. Like, anyway, and I had been like, I felt like I had been learning so much, like, about my body. Um, and so I felt, I felt so confident, overly confident. Oh my God. Okay. I feel ashamed about this because it's like so like out of left field, right? So out of pocket. Like, what? You did what? Like, because the confidence, right? Okay. So I remember I got dressed. What was I wearing? Mm, okay. I'll describe what I was wearing. I was wearing this vintage dress that's like polka dotted, like multicolor polka dotted. Yeah. And then I was wearing this like long, I think they were about they stopped at about the same length. This long overcoat that was like this kind of, I don't know, what color is that? Magenta-ish color. And then I wore riding boots that stopped at my knee, black. Yeah, and then I wore my watermelon, Free Palestine, right? This watermelon purse that's hella cute because it has a face on it. Um, Jelly roll. Yep, not what it's called. It might be. So that was my outfit, and I was on my way to the MoMA. Fucking SF MoMA. Okay. Oh, and on my way, I remember I was taking pictures in front of the Jewish Contemporary Museum. And I was like sitting on the ground because I wanted this angle. Oh, because there's like this really, it's kind of like a park. Yeah, it's like this concrete park, um, ish. And like I was on the ground, and then on this step that was kind of in the middle of like a fountain, like not a fountain, but like a pool. But it was really, the reflections were really cool. Yeah, it was very like artistic, like good landscaping. And I was taking this picture, and then this guy with his dog was passing by me, And then we started talking. We just started talking. And I started asking questions. This is how I am when I meet somebody. Like, it's like nonstop questions, right? It's like an interview. And then he was like, "You're asking all these good questions." He's like, "What are you?" He's like, "A reporter? Cop? City council?" I was like, "No. I'm just a person." Like, yeah. But that made me feel good because like my questions were good, you know? But anyway, so that gave me extra. Sorry, I'm just thinking about this guy and how he walked away. And as he was walking away, he was kind of far away. I took a picture of him, and he for self defense, he had this stick, and he was like twirling it and stuff. Yeah, yeah. I'll always remember that guy. Oh, I was gonna say his name, but I first of all I don't quite remember his name. Yeah. Okay. And so I go to MoMA. I go into the gift shop, and I talk to one of the staff there, and I'm like, who is the most powerful person I can talk to? Jesus Christ. And I didn't even know what I was going to say. Can you believe the confidence? He whiz. So, anywho, that's mania for you. That's like high mania for you. It's like you have this confidence, right? You're indestructible. And so we'll just leave it at that. Um, yeah, nothing happened of it. Of course, you can't get into the moment. Just like anyway. Oh boy. So I'm actually really glad that I said this to you because now it's out there, and now I released the shame because I felt shameful about that. Like, what the fuck was wrong with me that I did that? I think my therapist also helped me realize, like, she said that mania is like can be the most that I can do, or something like that. Not her exact words, but it can be, you know. And I was like, okay, well, yeah, I did it. Yeah. Yeah, and what's that saying they say is like, what's the most that can happen? They say no. Right? Ask, ask, and then the most they can say is no. So I embodied that, and there wasn't a no. It was a no. um, but here, like, I feel like there's something wrong with me now. That's shame, right? That's what we learned about the definition of shame. Like, what's wrong with me? How come I'm not creating right now? That's how I feel because I haven't had the motivation, the inspiration to create anything. What's nice is my friend Joyce. We know Joyce, right? Joyce is the one who took me to the hospital when I was hospitalized. Joyce is coming over today, and she's gonna bring maybe her watercolors, I think, and we're gonna do a class together, which is cool. And one way that I have been occupying my time is by reading, because reading can really, if it's a book that you're so engrossed in and you're so like into, it can really take up your time. Audiobooks too. I don't know. I don't know why I'm so not so much into uh podcasts. One podcast that I was super into though is LeVar Burton Reads, and it ended. The series ended, which I'm sad about. I'm smiling, but I'm sad about it. But I guess I'm happy for him, LeVar, LeVar Burton. He's such an incredible guy. Gee whiz. Um, like I feel as much respect and admiration for him as I do Trevor Noah. Except Trevor Noah, I'm actually in love with, and you know, if he were single and I were single, you know, why not? I would. I don't know how. How do you? I mean, just because he's a celebrity doesn't mean he's not a person. But yeah, there was there was a time where I was so gung ho about moving to New York, right? And he used to be, I don't think he is anymore, the host of The Daily Show. And I was like, oh my God, we're going to be in the same city. Now I'm going to be closer to Trevor Noah. Oh my gosh. It's going to happen. What the fuck? Mania, right? No, just kidding. Just kidding. Oh boy. Yeah. Anyway, um, when you're single, I'm single. You feel like you're going to be alone forever. Yeah, that's how I feel. It's like, it's okay. Let's live life. Okay, so I feel like I don't have that much creativity right now. I did start. I started doing this the artist way. Yeah, you might have heard of it. It's a very famous. It's internationally best-selling author Julia Cameron. So, a course in discovering and recovering your creative self. 30th anniversary edition. Damn, 30th. Holy shit, 30th. Wow, in the 90s then. The Artist's Way, a spiritual path to higher creativity. And so I started doing this, and I feel like so many things in my life are pointing me towards needing to connect with a higher power. Like this book, it connects you to a higher power in creativity, and that's what I'm noticing the similarities are actually. So, okay, between the Artist's Way, because the Artist's Way, it says that creativity is God's gift to us humans, right? And that us practicing our creativity is our gift back to God, um, God or the universe, something like that. And Rest is Resistance by Tricia Hersey says that rest is the portal to the dream world where it's infinite creativity and imagination, and that we ourselves are divine and gods essentially. And so, and yeah, that really inspired me when I was manic. I was like, yes, I am a god. Like, oh, something like that, right? But here, like, our creative dreams and yearnings, this is from The Artist's Way. Our creative dreams and yearnings come from a divine source. As we move toward our dreams, we move toward our divinity, like our divineness, right? Yeah, so I feel like it's very similar, right? Not exactly overlapping, but it's very similar. And these are people who have Trisha Hersey and Julia Cameron who have like reached a higher self, if you will, And so they're both saying similar things. So that's very that's very interesting to me. And so I'm thinking right now, like, is there a block in me? Is there uh the word is there's a hesitancy. Yeah, there's a bit of hesitancy here. But I do believe in like a universal power, and that is essentially like a god, right? In a way. Um, yeah, yeah. I guess maybe part of my hesitancy is because I'm struggling so much right now, kind of thing. Yeah. Anywho, um, Yeah, I think I said creativity and stuff. Yeah, I guess we can stop here. Trying to think if there's anything else I want to say before I say my closing. Mm, we'll leave it at that. I'm Christine Pilates, and I talk mental health to free us all from capitalism. I'll see you next time.